So let's talk about Sandy Weill, because he had a big interview on Squawk Box on CNBC the other day. And let me just set it up, because we used to have a banking system that had some common sense rules to it, like a system where consumer banks were separated from investment banks. It was instituted after the banks crashed in 1929, and banking worked really well and was boring like it's supposed to be. But then came along some guys, one of the guys being Sandy Weill, who pushed through the repeal of all those laws and regulations that kept things separate, and they put them back together again in an unholy union.
They bundled them.
They bundled them, right? So they put the banks back together, and like an unholy union, like the Seattle Supersonics and Oklahoma City. One of those unholy unions that aren't supposed to happen. And what happened? Within 7 years, all the banks failed, and then the taxpayer had to bail them out, and bankers get to live the life of movie stars and professional athletes while the rest of the world cleans up their mess. Okay, and now let's enter Sandy Weill. If you've never heard of Sandy Weill, he's the former chairman and CEO of Citigroup, and he went on Squawk Box recently on CNBC, I assume to explain how his plan for world domination was going swimmingly until James Bond ruined everything, blew up his secret lair, and stole his wife.
That's the one thing I like about him is his cat.
Yes,
That he
Sandy
strokes
Weill?
Yes,
As he repeals
Yes.
So here's what he had to say. Big news. He makes some big news here.
Probably do is go and split up investment banking from banking. Have banks be deposit takers, have banks make commercial loans and real estate loans, have banks do something that's not going to risk the taxpayer dollars, that's not going to be too big to fail.
Somebody waited a long time to grow a conscience. I think the technical term for this is douchebag's remorse. Yes, and we should create a law about all this stuff to fix it that it rhymes with ass eagle. But I will say this, Sandy Weill's announcement that we should put back in place Glass-Steagall is the first time in history that a Wall Street banker told the truth. So that's a big deal, right?
And I'm just so impressed with the courage it took for him to retire from banking, live in his billion-dollar Greenwich, Connecticut home or wherever it is, and come out against everything that made that possible for him. Now that he's safely...
Yeah, now that he's amassed his fortune,
Yes.
and he's just about to die, let's go ahead. Re-regulate everything. I got mine, right? That's basically it. Okay, so so guess what? A reporter caught up with the Timothy Geithner, who's the Secretary of the Treasury, who's kind of in charge of all these banking guys and making sure. So they caught up with them, and they let him know that Sandy Weill, the guy who invented the supermarket of banks, now says we shouldn't do that stuff. And here's how Timothy Geithner handled it.
Secretary Geithner, Sandy Weill just said on CNBC that he thinks the big banks should be broken up. Any reaction? He's one of the architects of the supermarket concept. That changed the debate at all, sir?
That's great. Be in the Obama administration, but act like you're in the Nixon administration.
And now he can't answer the question right now because he's busy behind the scenes. He and Obama are working hard on their next major policy disappointment.
And it's great that he has such a concept of the idea that he works for the public, so that he can go into the building and not answer a basic question, just ignore it.
I can't. The people?
He's in the Obama administration, but he's acting like he's in the Nixon administration.
Well, my question is, why would Sandy Weill now? We talked about this. Why now, Sandy? Is it because you have all your money already? Is it because you already made your bazillion dollars? Why now would you come out and apologize, say you were wrong, and then want to reverse everything? I think I have an idea. Here we go.
Is that there is such a feeling among people, among regulators, among the political system all over the world against the banking system, and I don't think that's going to change so soon.
Yeah, turns out people all over the world wouldn't stand for our bullshit anymore, and turns out we should try being honest for a change, see if that works. Yeah, we rigged the system, stole $1 billion or so dollars, that ain't never getting back anyway, so hey, let's reinstate Glass-Steagall. I'm 79. I don't care what they do.
People have this negative image of us despite the fact that we spent the last 5 years acting like Mr. Potter and destroying the Bailey Building and Loan, and yet we come off as the jerks.
I'm calling the bank examiner and swear out a warrant for your arrest, and I'm a jerk. Okay, so they asked Sandy Weill about the culture on Wall Street. Like, what's wrong with the culture on Wall Street? And here's his response.
I wanted to talk to you about the culture of Wall Street today. And there's a great sense in the public psyche of distrust about Wall Street, whether it be the Facebook IPO not working, whether it be the LIBOR scandal, whether it be questions about this trading loss at JP Morgan. What do you think about the culture of Wall Street today?
I think that 99% of people on Wall Street are honest. They're ethical. They care. They care about the country. They care about their shareholders.
Yeah, they're such good people that they feel really bad about all the money they stole, though they're glad that they'll never be punished or have to give it back. And let me just say this, Sandy, he didn't ask you about the people on Wall Street. You know, most German soldiers were honest, hardworking people. What he was asking about was the culture that allows honest, well-intentioned people to do horribly evil and destructive things, like, you know, bundle no-doc mortgages they know are worthless, slap a AAA rating on it, and sell those toxic, worthless bonds to unsuspecting customers, like teachers' pensions funds, all the while taking a boatload of cash in commissions for themselves.
Nice.
That's what he was asking you.
You know, I think the 99% of people on Wall Street who he said are good, he meant the people who work in like the sandwich shops and the restaurants.
The janitors, the street cleaners.
99% of those people, the people who work in the firms are horrible.
Oh, those are, but like his tailor.
The tailor, the guy who shines the shoes in the lobby.
Okay, here we go.
They care about what people make. Their future is really connected. I mean, the financial industry is connected to the country, to the economy of the world.
Really, Sandy, the financial industry is connected to the economy of the world? Well, eventually, Sandy isn't connected to the reality of the world. Let's just take one example, shall we? The corporate officers of the USB have made roughly $34 billion in the last 5 years, while losing $44 billion. The whole of the credit default crisis comes from bankers betting against the well-being of the world markets in the first place. If anything, the people in the financial industry are connected to the world's economy in an inverse proportional way. Sandy? Okay.
The world. And, you know, you always have bad apples in any kind of a business. And in the financial business, when you have it, the numbers are bigger.
Yeah, you always have a few bad apples in any business. Or on Wall Street, we like to call them chief executive officers. Yeah, they've always had bad apples in any kind of business. And in financial business, you just have to, it's just going to be bigger loss. Yeah, you know what? I get it. It was a rogue trader or two that brought, that's bullshit. That's what he's saying.
That's
bad
what, and the
apples.
other guy said that too.
Oh, it's just a couple of bad apples. You know what? If a couple of bad apples can crash your entire industry, that's a pretty fucked up business model.
Yes.
You know what? I used to work at Starbucks. The most I could do was screw them out of $15 in pastries. That's a system you can believe in, okay? And I know Sandy Weill is 79 years old, but for a guy that age, he could really swing a shovel.
I think the reason he started saying all this was because he was visited by 3 ghosts on Christmas Eve.